$200,000 every single year to maintain the structure that was built. That's like $5 million, $5 to $6 million that is going to be spent. The question is, I don't think you were aware of it. I want to know, I think that you should go back to the look at the very beginning of the decision and find out why some of these issues didn't come to your attention, because would you really have wanted to spend $5 million over the next 20 years or $200,000 a year on bringing in sand and repairing the rocks? It's very similar to in many ways to the Rosewood structure. He knew and he experienced that the people south of the structure lost their beach and damaged their property. And we brought the idea, one of the things that Wetland said is, you should do a full discovery of what happened at Lake Forest. And Gene Clark was available. And why you didn't expand the scope of your research to find out what happened and apply it to the Rosewood situation there was something wrong. Whatever it was, I don't know, but the decision-making process to encompass all the information that was out there, it wasn't working. Further, in about 1975, 1978, there were groins out in Lake Michigan on the Rosewood property, and they were damaging the beaches to the southern property owners. So southern property owners went and complained. They actually filed suit in court, and then they went to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and the U.S. Corps of Engineers issued a modification order having you shorten the groin. So you actually had to spend the money to take out these structures. Now your shore protection operates very similar to a groin, but the shore protections you put in at Rosewood are longer than the actual groins that were there, damaging the property owners south of Rosewood. We brought that to your attention. You also have the technical report. It's in a report, and I have the name of the report, and I have the relevant, if you want to cite and actually see the report, I do have the actual portions of the actual report where the modification was ordered. The question is, why would you do it again? If a shorter structure caused damage, then why would you put in a longer structure? Or the question is, why didn't you know about it? So there was another issue that struck us very strangely, and even before that time, the Park District had gone to the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, Office of Water Resources, and at one point asked for an application to install a groin on the southern property line, and the Office of Water Resources rejected it, saying it would cause erosion to the properties on the south. So my point is, why this information was out there, you had it. We actually came to the Park District, we filed a Freedom of Information request, and we weren't granted access to that information until the afternoon of the date that the hearing was being held. And so we had to scramble just to get the information we had before the hearing that night. So there was something holding up or interrupting the information getting to you. So what I'm saying is, before you go, it may be that you want to go in a different direction. And when you do that, you may want to bring in a lot of new ideas or the current coastal engineering ideas and make sure they're in your decision making. Because for some reason, we at our own expense brought in a coastal engineer to be part of the discussion, and we felt that we were rejected. I have the coastal engineer's letter, his opinion letter that he brought before you. And just one more point too, that when you agreed, when you did the Rosewood project, you agreed that you signed off to maintain it according to the operating and maintenance manual that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers prepared for you. part of the structure was not only you were supposed to keep the cells full of sand, and there was a fillet, Fillet, a fillet beach that was on the north side. According to the Bard proposal, that was supposedly going to keep the sand going around to prevent harm to the southern property owners. Apparently, in your current structure, your current putting more sand in, there was no mention of checking the fillet beach, making sure that that was operating. One of the things that I think is really sad is it doesn't appear that you've operated this project, the Rosewood project, in accordance with the way it was designed, and that has also caused a lot of damage to property owners. So you may want to again rethink, and we would like you to be good neighbors, good citizens, and if I can share our information, our coastal engineer, we would be happy to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. And then, if you'd like to leave a copy of the book and the document in your left hand, we will make copies of it.
Sure.
And I just request for you, Mr. President, if he has any reports that he would like us to review.
That was my next.
Okay, great.
I do.
If you have any.
Excuse me one second.
That was next on my checklist.
Yeah.
I did bring. Okay. Okay. I don't know if Gene Clark is still around or retired, but this is his resume and his curriculum vitae. He would be a key person with the experience, and he's in the public sector, and he would do it as a public service because he did it once before, but that was back in 2014. This is from the Department of the Army. This is from Commander Frederick Drummond from 2014. This says that the project partnership agreement signed between the Corps and the Park District of Highland Park on July 25th, 2013 is a legally binding agreement that requires the Park District of Highland Park to operate and maintain the project in accordance with the operating and maintenance manual provided to them when the Corp turns over the project. Basically, you gave them a blank check for whatever they said to need to be done. You agreed to do it no matter what the cost.
Okay.
So I'll leave that for you.
Do you have copies, or do you need us to make copies?
You'll need to make copies.
Okay.
This is the from January 16, 2014. This is the our coastal engineering's letter, opinion letter for you.
Why don't you leave all the documents with?
One more that I'd like to get on the record that I'm leaving with you. This is the Rosewood Park Shoreline Improvement and Recreation and Development by the Bard and Associates. This is the one that talks about the fact that you had to shorten the groins because they were doing
the 1974-78.
Yes,
shortening?
and this is the portion that talks about that. And then this is where when you signed off on your permit. This is the monitoring agreement that you agreed to be committed to. We've done Freedom of Information Acts to the U.S. Corps of Army Engineers, and they have refused to give us those documents.
Well, that has nothing to do with us.
Well,
I
I suppose we could make them to you because you should have a copy of them.
Then make them to us, and we will respond accordingly.
Okay, well, that would be much appreciated. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And these are the documents.
Just stick around, she'll make copies for you.
No, you can have these.
Oh, you can have those?
Yes, and you'll probably want to have this document too. I don't have a paper clip for it, but. Okay.
The originals we can keep these?
Yeah, those are from PDFs.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You want the book?
No, you can have the book as well.
Thank you.
And I would just think that book is a very good base to start from.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. Next up is the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move.
Second?
Roxanne, are you back? Can you call the roll?
Commissioner Bernstein?
Aye.
Commissioner Grossberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Flores Wyskoff?
Aye.
Vice President Ruttenberg?
Aye.
President Kaplan?
Aye, motion carries. Unfinished business, ordinance 2020-02. Mary Lynn Peters.
Good evening. For the past several weeks, or months, I should really say, we have been discussing issuing bonds, and the day is drawing near. So we have had a BINA hearing, we've had a public hearing, we have changed the amount of the bonds we want to issue. And at this point, we have ordinance 2020-02 before you, and that does provide for the issue of not to exceed $7,250,000 in general obligation limited tax park bond series 2020 for the Park District. And it will be used for the payment of land for parks, for the building, maintaining, improving, and protecting of the same, and the existing land and facilities of the Park District, and for the payment of the expenses incident thereto, providing for the levy of a direct annual tax to pay the principal and interest on the said bonds, and authorizing the sale of said bonds to the purchaser thereof. And that sale is slated to take place Tuesday morning at 10 a.m., provided you pass this ordinance. Does anyone have any questions?
Mr. President, let me just note that this bond issue has been extensively vetted with the Finance Committee, and also this was brought to the board with the workshop. I believe it was, we had a hearing last meeting or the meeting before?
2 meetings ago.
2 meetings ago?
Yeah.
Okay, we had a hearing, and there was no comment with regard to this. This is consistent with our funding model to fund both capital improvements and the green print Tier 1 projects. So, this has been fully vetted, so, and the Finance Committee recommends that this gets approved.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve, excuse me, ordinance 2020-02, an ordinance providing for the issue of bonds, I'm going to assume is a missing word, not to exceed $7,250,000, general obligation limited tax bonds, Series 2020, of the Park District of Highland Park, Lake County, Illinois, for the payment of land for parks, for the facilities of said Park District, and for the payment of the expenses incident thereto, providing for the levy of a direct annual tax to pay the principal and interest on said bonds, and authorizing the sale of said bonds to the purchaser thereof.
So move.
Second?
Any additional discussion on the motion? Roxanne, can you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Bernstein?
Aye.
Commissioner Grossberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Flores Wyskoff?
Aye.
Vice President Ruttenberg?
Aye.
President Kaplan?
Aye, motion carries. And Mary Lynn, while you're sitting there, can I get the director's report? Treasurer's report.
Treasurer's report, definitely.
Getting ahead of myself.
That's okay. I think you pretty much did that. So the books at December 31st for the year ended December 12/31/2019 were not closed just yet. We will probably close sometime mid-February. We'd like to keep them open so that any possible expenses that still need to hit that year are able to come through and recorded that way. But what you have before you is, I would say, pretty close to final. We do anticipate probably at least another $250,000 of expenses to come through between now and the middle of February. Additionally, we did make all the transfers that we were supposed to, except for the transfer from the Special Recreation Fund to the Capital Projects Fund. We haven't quite determined what that amount will be, but as was discussed at the November meeting and as when Interim Director Becker had presented the budget, it will probably be a transfer of less than the $550,000 amount that's budgeted. We are still anticipating a large year-end surplus versus the deficit that had been budgeted of about $4.6 million. And also note that we did make nearly $3 million of debt payments in December, and that's reflected in the document before you. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, new business. Director's report. I think you've done it.
Yeah, I just
Everything on
wanted
my list.
to announce a few upcoming events at the Park District of Highland Park. For one, spring registration begins Wednesday, February 12th. Valentine's Day is also in February, so we have a few events. We have a Valentine Family Skate at Centennial Ice Arena on February 14th. That's from 5:30 to 7:30. Then we have a very popular event at Heller Nature Center, Nature Discovery Day, which is free on Saturday, February 1st from 10 to noon. Then back to Valentine's Day, we have Camp No School, since the schools are off that Friday, and that is from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Recreation Center of Highland Park. And the last thing I wanted to mention is our annual daddy-daughter date night that sells out every year. One of our biggest and most popular events. It's the Royal Dinner and Snowball. It's on February 8th from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. at the Highland Park Country Club. And you can have a dinner beforehand as well, or you can just go to the dance, and information is on our website. So hope you all come out. Thank you.
That's great.
Is that event sold out? Yeah. Yes?
I'm getting a notion that it is sold out again already. So there is a wait list in
How'd you
case
get
something
that
happens. I got the notion from Mariana.
Okay.
We'd like to know. We'd like to know, yeah.
And then I will say that on Sunday, I attended the walking bingo
Oh, great.
event at the rec center, where those who walked the track, and unfortunately no accidents occurred while everybody was looking at their bingo cards. Jody and I got to call 10 hands of bingo, and one little 8-year-old girl won at least 4 times.
Oh, wow.
But it was well received, and it worked out much better than I envisioned. I envisioned someone tripping over somebody playing bingo, walking the track. As long as you were walking, you got a card and you got to play bingo. And lastly, Commissioner Grossberg?
Right, I never got minutes from the foundation meeting, but I'm reviewing the agenda, and there were some important, we're really drilling down on the governance of the foundation and really trying to create a document that's flexible enough to keep up with we're growing, but also a document that we can lean on so that there's certainty and continuity as board members come and go. So governance is a huge part of what the conversation was. We also had a golf outing overview by the Rob, Ryan, and Cole were there to talk about I don't have the date here, it's in July.
Yeah, I think it's the third week in July. I don't have the date in front of me. It's not on our website yet, but it will be soon, and it's to celebrate 100 years of Sunset Valley, but also a final push to generate some additional funding for the short game practice area in youth development area.
Right. In addition, they're talking about laying brick pavers from the clubhouse along the side of the hut, the cart barn, connecting it to the
Short
new.
game area.
Where
Uh,
are we with fundraising for the short game?
We're very close.
Yeah.
We received an additional $5,000 on top of the grant that I don't know, it wasn't a grant, was it? Was it?
Yeah, there was a grant for
Oh, it was a grant.
$50,000, and so we're at about $175,000.
What do we need to raise?
We need $200,000 to get the entire project completed. So we're very close, and we're going to have an update to the board at the next February workshop.
All right, thank
Golf
you.
staff will be here to give them.
So the entire short game area is being funded by private donations,
100%.
100%?
That's great.
Chris, I don't think, Chris, were you there at the meeting to talk about? Okay, so we had the Champions Banquet. The date has been announced for that. That's all public, right?
Yes.
So it's April 30th, I believe, and our guest speaker will be Chris Chelios this year. So we're looking to grow that event. It's the major fundraiser for the foundation. So we are hoping that the attractiveness of having a Hall of Fame hockey player there and just growing it and getting tables sold and people bidding on silent and live auction items will make it even better as years go on. I will say they had a presence at MLK Day of Service, so they got to talk to a lot of people and network and talk to other people that are on boards, and they're just really starting to hit their stride about how to develop this board and make it not just a functioning thing, but a powerhouse here in town, and getting the awareness out that the foundation is playing has a big role to play in this town. So, for example, we do have our FYI, which is our youth initiative that does include Highwood kids. We have currently, I think, 19 swimmers in the swim program receiving free swim lessons there. And then maybe you could speak more eloquently about the new golf scholarship that we have.
Yes, we received a donation, and it's a 5-year commitment for $10,000 a year. This donation specifically is targeted towards youth golf development. So there is extending for interested families who have middle school or high school kids. There's an application on the foundation's website that they can fill out to apply for the scholarship to receive. I believe it is 8, or maybe it's six golf lessons with the scholarship, and then they get some clubs as well. So, yeah, it's very exciting.
And then we have applied for a Safe Route grant. That hasn't come through yet, but we feel good about that.
We have not. Right.
So it's lighting for a trail is kind of what we're hoping for. And finally, we have reached out to Jim Leonard again on having the shrimp boil, and it looks like it's will be at the end of February. More details to come.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board?
I just have one. With regard to MLK Day, since my mom's not around to thank the Park District for everything they did with regard to it. Mitch, Debbie, I know I'm forgetting people. Terry, you did an outstanding effort, and so I can report to my mom that you were able to move on without her and have a successful day, and she was missed, and that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
You were good. It was good to have you there to
Yeah.
speak those words.
Thank you.
Okay, can I get a motion to go into closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Open Meetings Act? Section 2C5, the purchase or lease of real estate, including discussions on whether a certain parcel of property should be acquired. 2C11, litigation against or on behalf of the district or where the district finds that an action is probable or imminent. And that's it?
So move.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Roxanne, can you call the roll?
Commissioner Bernstein? Commissioner Grossberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Flores Weiskopf?
Aye.
Vice President Ruttenberg?
Aye.
President Kaplan?
Aye. Show that we've adjourned at 6:40, and we are in closed session.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.